Hi folks, Toad here with Visordown.com and welcome to our review of Yamaha's new 2020 MT-03. So we've been reviewing this bike for you guys because we weren't able, sadly, to go on the launch of the machine a few months back, and Yamaha were very kind and they put us top of the queue to have a go on their press demonstrator when it came on fleet. So what have we done with it? Just very quickly, we had an amazingly fun day riding this thing around from Yamaha's HQ in Woking, down through the dual carriageways and the back roads and then into central London. And we spent a day playing in the traffic in central London, and I've got to admit it was a lot of fun. So just before I go into the bike in detail to start the review, a very quick overview of the machine. So this is a £5,198 bike. You can pick it up on a PCP deal for around about £69 per month if you go through the Yamaha U Motor Finance. That said, dealers are looking to sell at the minute post-COVID. They want to get people onto bikes. So if you are thinking about getting one, get yourself down to your nearest Yamaha dealer and have a chat to them because there are deals to be had. Just before we go into the engine of the bike, I just want to give you a quick overview of what's changed on this model. So we've got an all-new engine, which is a parallel twin cylinder, 321cc engine, which has got VVA, which is not variable valve timing, it's variable valve actuation. The idea of that is to boost the mid-range and the top end, and it's also to help get the motor through the latest batch of Euro 5 engine regulations. Aside from the new engine, we've got a full-on makeover for this bike. They've gone to town with the design of the thing. So we've got a completely new LED front headlight arrangement, and we've got all new bodywork from nose to tail. And I've got to say, I think it looks great. The whole of the Yamaha MT range, from the MT 125 right the way up to the MT-09 and the MT-10, is all kind of joined up, and the only bike that's really lagging behind in that kind of range is the MT-07, which we're heavily expecting to get this kind of refresh in the next couple of months or so. Other big changes for this year: this bike has got an assisted slipper clutch as well, and there are also some other revisions to the dash and also the sort of the cockpit styling and switchgear. So just going to go through the engine in a bit more detail. So it's got 41 bhp and 21 pound-foot of torque. It does feel very pokey. The gears are beautifully spaced, so you can really make the most of the 41 bhp. You can almost always get away from the lights quicker than pretty much everything else, which is really, really good. One of the biggest things that impressed me when I was riding this bike, and I've ridden a lot of these kind of just below A2 compliant bikes, so the bikes that put out between 37 and sort of 45 horsepower. And this is probably the most refined engine of any of them that I've ridden. That includes things like the KTM Duke 390 and so on and so forth. It is super, super refined. I don't know whether it's the construction of the engine, the way the crank's been balanced, but it just feels so smooth and so refined. And because it's now got that VVA, variable valve actuation, it has got a lovely spread of mid-range torque. Considering it's only got 40 brake horsepower or 41 brake horsepower, I kind of forgot that when I was riding it, because you really could do anything on the bike apart from break the speed limit. So yeah, beautiful spread of torque, plenty of poke. And cruising at 75 miles an hour on thing is perfectly, absolutely fine as well. It will do motorway work with ease. It will also breeze up to 100 miles an hour. Not that I actually did that on the day, because obviously that would be illegal. I just also want to mention that the engine doesn't really seem to run out of puff. Some small capacity multi-cylinder engines and singles, they can seem to get up 70, 75 miles an hour, and then they just run out of steam, and it's like waiting and waiting and waiting for the speed to build. But it actually really doesn't. It will pull cleanly all the way to the rev limiter, even in top gear on the motorway. It's kind of, you hit an incline slightly and the bike is going to slow down a little bit. But honestly, it is more than happy with motorway, dual carriageway and city work as well. Just going to talk about the suspension and the handling of the bike. So we've got 41mm non-adjustable forks, and we have also got a KYB rear shock absorber with mechanical preload adjustability. The bike has got a very sort of sit up and beg geometry to it. You feel like your chin is right over the headstock, and the bars are really quite wide, and you just feel like you're sort of sat on top of the fuel tank almost when you're riding it. And it does make it feel really, really quick to turn. It's got a decent set of Dunlop Sport Max tyres on it as well. They're a good mix of grip and longevity, but they've also got quite a nice profile to them, so that the turning in of the bike and the dropping it into a corner is quite neutral and quite natural, and it doesn't turn too quickly, but there is plenty of grip and feel once you get it into a fast corner. The route that we took to get into central London, because that's really where the test was going to happen, in central London, took in some really, really nice back roads around the Woking area. But that was where I had a lot of fun on the bike, because it does handle so well. It's got a big bike feel to it. So you don't feel like you're riding a small capacity bike when you're riding it. And because of that, you ride it like you'd ride a big bike, which means you take chunks out of corners and you brake late and you trail brake into corners and you carry lots and lots of corner speed. And all the time, the suspension had got everything that I need. The only thing is, if you're bigger than me or a lot smaller than me, then there isn't the adjustability in there that you can then dial that out should you need to. Once we got into central London, really the lightness and the nimbleness of the bike, and also its fairly low seat, really aided to siding through traffic. It was really very good at getting through the traffic quicker than pretty much anything else. I mean, if you've ridden in London, and I ride in London lots, you'll know that on a bike like this, if you can side through that traffic quickly, it doesn't matter whether you're riding one of these, an R1, or any other superbike with 200 horsepower, you're not going to get from A to B any quicker, because they are just so nimble and so small and so light. Any gap is a goal and you can just get through it. While I'm talking about the handling, I'm just going to talk about the brakes of this bike. So this has got 2-piston sliding caliper up front with a 290mm disc. It's got 2-channel ABS and a single piston sliding caliper at the rear. I'm going to be completely honest, the braking system is very progressive. There isn't massive amounts of initial bite. I mean, I'm coming down to riding the MT-03 from riding bigger, faster 1000cc sports bikes and super nakeds and stuff like that. So maybe it's my mindset is just set in the ways of that you get initial bite with the first millimetre of pulling the lever. And there isn't that on this bike. You can stop the bike in a real hurry, but you do need to use a sort of 2 or 3 fingered pull of the lever, and it is using a lot of the bite and the pull of the lever. That said, the progressive braking action does mean that you can accurately trail brake, and it is going to be good if you're somebody who's either totally new to riding bikes or you're moving up from the CBT up to the A2 license. The feel of the brake lever, it's kind of going to be what you're used to from learning to ride in the bikes that you've ridden before, but like I said, it's got all the braking power there. It just lacks that initial bite. I mean, it could possibly be rectified by sticking in some slightly better quality pads. It's something that you'd have to investigate, but it's something that I've got to mention. The ABS on the bike is, like I said, it's a 2-channel ABS system which can't be turned off, but it is really good. I mean, if it was working out on the road, I didn't really feel it at all. So having spent a full day riding the MT-03, I've noticed, and this is one of the best points about this bike, how damn comfortable it is. It's super comfortable. That seat is very plush, nicely contoured, and the upper body ergonomics are brilliant. Even though you are sort of feel like you're sat over the front of the bike, it's not cramped at all. It's a very nice place to be. The lower body ergonomics are great as well, because it's not one of these kind of small capacity nakeds where they make it so sporty on the bottom end that your knees are up by your chin. It's nicely spaced out, your legs aren't too bent. And it's just a really comfortable place to be. Another thing that I noticed on the day's riding that we did was that the LCD dash is very good. It's not the funky reverse LCD that the MT-125 and the MT-09SP get, but it is very clearly laid out, and it's got every bit of information in there that you could ever want or possibly need as well. We were riding it in really bright sunshine, and I never had any issues of being able to read the dash during bright sunlight or anything like that, which was very handy. So what do we like about the Yamaha MT-03? Well, I've got to say I like the styling. I think it looks really grown up, and it's sleek and stylish, and it's bang on trend. And I think all of the colorways that Yamaha have kind of released to it, they're perfect for the bike, the age range, and the demographic of rider that they're going for. So yeah, I think it's a cracking looking bit of kit. The handling of it and that big bike feel that you get when you're riding, I think is also a really cool trick, because no one wants to feel vulnerable when they're riding a motorcycle. And some small capacity bikes from 125 up to 400cc can make you feel vulnerable, but you don't get that with this. And I remember when we were parked up in London, there were people coming over, and because we'd obviously got 2 brand new bikes and we've got film cameras around them, they come over and they have a look and they have a chat to you. And there were bikers coming over and they were asking what they were going, oh, is this 750? There's a new phaser or something. They obviously hadn't ridden for a while or weren't keeping up to date with bikes, but they genuinely thought that it was a 750 or a 600cc bike, which if you're riding it and you're buying it, that's great because it's basically a free pass into the 750cc club. Another thing that I really enjoyed about the bike and that I will take away from this review is this bike's traffic carving ability. Everything from the way it handles to the super light clutch, because you've got that slipper assisted clutch as well, the light gearbox, the perfect throttle. You know, it all just makes this bike such a fun thing to just go carving through traffic, which is really where it's going to be best at home. What don't we like about the MT-03? I've got to say the only real thing that I disliked about the bike was the slight lack of bite through the front brake lever. Like I said, it could just be me being used to more powerful braking systems and double disc braking systems with 4-pot calipers. If you were going to buy one, the first thing that would be on my shopping list would be a set of EBC pads, just to see if you can sort that out a little bit and give it a little bit more poke in the braking sector. So the verdict. There's been a little phrase that's been going around my head the day that we rode the bike and since then, and it's kind of, don't think about the Yamaha MT-03 as a small bike. Okay, it's not a small bike. It's a bike with a small capacity engine that has got this full-size motorcycle ego. You don't feel like you're riding a small bike when you ride it. Other people don't think you're riding a small bike when you ride it. And it doesn't sound like a small bike. It doesn't actually go like a small bike. It can do all the things that a big bike can. It can, do everything that an MT-10 can. The only thing that it can't do is break the speed limit quite so much. And that's only a good thing. If you're a new rider and you're looking for a cost-effective, good-looking, great handling, and fun bike to move up the ranks with, there really is very little to dislike about Yamaha's new 2020 MT-03. If you like that video, folks, please don't forget to hit like and subscribe so that you can keep up to date with all of Visordown's latest videos. For all the latest news, reviews and motorcycle features, please head over to Visordown.com. Thanks for watching.